Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every life when you must stand face to face with adversity, with challenge, and with uncertainty. It is in these moments that you discover the true power of your faith, the strength that resides within you. I want to talk to you today about a powerful prayer, a prayer that has the potential to change everything. It's found in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43. This prayer is not just a request to God, but a declaration of His sovereignty, a proclamation of His unchanging faithfulness. When you embrace this prayer, you embrace the very essence of who God is, and it transforms everything around you. Isaiah 43 isn't just words on a page. It is a blueprint for breakthrough, a pathway to transformation. It starts with a profound truth. But now, thus says the Lord who created you, O Jacob, and He who formed you, O Israel. Do you hear what God is saying? He's not just talking about the people of Israel in the past. He's talking to you today. He created you. He formed you. You are not here by accident. You're not a mistake. You are a divine purpose wrapped in flesh. And when you realize that truth, when you understand that the God of all creation has placed a unique call on your life, it changes everything. When you face the struggles, the setbacks, and the challenges that life throws at you, you must remind yourself of this truth. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. God has formed you for greatness, and His purpose for your life is unwavering. The prayer that changes everything begins with a deep acknowledgement of God's intimate relationship with you. He didn't just create you and leave you. No, He is with you and He is working for your good. Isaiah 43 speaks of God making a way where there seems to be no way. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. This is not just a statement of protection, but a declaration that no matter the circumstances you find yourself in, no matter how deep the waters or how strong the currents, God is with you. His presence ensures that the obstacles in your life will not overwhelm you. This is the power of the prayer that changes everything. This prayer also speaks to God's ability to bring new life into the driest and most barren places. It says, "Behold, I will do a new thing." God doesn't want you to remain in your old stagnant ways. He wants to bring a new beginning, a fresh start, a restoration that will blow your mind, even when you think it's too late. Even when you've been walking through the wilderness for what seems like forever, God is declaring that He will do something new in your life. Finally, Isaiah 43 reminds us that God's purpose is always greater than our present pain. His plans for you are not limited by your circumstances. I have called you by your name. You are mine. When you walk in that identity, when you truly understand that you belong to the Creator of the universe, everything changes. You stand in your authority. You walk with confidence. You approach life's challenges with the unwavering belief that nothing is too big for God. When you pray this prayer, you are tapping into the power of God's eternal promise. You are declaring His sovereignty over every situation, and you are setting the stage for a breakthrough. The prayer that changes everything is the prayer that aligns your heart with God's purpose, that opens the door to His miraculous work in your life. It's time for you to rise and embrace the fullness of what God has for you. You were not created by chance. Your life has purpose, and that purpose is divinely designed by the Creator of the universe. When you understand that you were made for a reason, everything in your life begins to make sense. You are not a mere accident of nature, nor are you just a product of your circumstances. No, you were formed with intention, with a specific purpose in mind that only you can fulfill. This truth changes everything. The world often tries to define us by external standards, by achievements, by titles, by what we have or don't have. But God sees you differently. When He created you, He saw your potential, your unique gifts, and your capacity for greatness. You are a masterpiece, intricately designed, woven together with care and precision. The purpose of your life is not just to exist, but to make an impact, to fulfill the divine call placed within you from the very moment you were conceived. You were created to be more than just a passive observer of life. You were designed to be an active participant in God's grand plan. The Creator didn't form you and then leave you alone to navigate life. No, He is with you every step of the way, guiding you toward your purpose, empowering you with everything you need to accomplish what He has set before you. His plan for your life is not random or accidental, and He is not caught off guard by the struggles or setbacks you face. Everything you go through, everything you experience is part of the process of shaping you into the person He has called you to be. It is crucial to understand that this purpose isn't something you have to search for in the world, nor is it something you can find through external validation. Your purpose is already inside of you. It was placed there by God, and it is uniquely yours. The key to fulfilling it is to recognize that you are already equipped with the necessary tools. Your talents, your passions, your experiences, they are all part of the design. Everything you've been through has prepared you for the destiny God has set before you. So many people go through life feeling unimportant or unsure of their place in the world. They measure themselves against others, constantly questioning their value. But God says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The Creator of the heavens and the earth designed you with purpose. Your life has meaning that cannot be found in anyone else's journey. You have something to offer the world that no one else can. Your experiences, your perspective, and your unique way of seeing things are invaluable to the kingdom of God. Embracing your purpose means that you stop comparing yourself to others and start recognizing your intrinsic worth. It means you stop striving for the approval of the world and begin to seek the approval of the one who created you. It means that you trust that God is leading you on a path that only you can walk, and that path is full of divine potential. When you realize that your life has a divine purpose, it shifts your mindset. You no longer view obstacles as setbacks, but as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to fulfill the plan that God has for you. You start to approach each day with the understanding that you are on a mission, not just to survive, but to thrive, to make a difference, and to fulfill the reason for which you are created. You are not an accident. You are a purposeful creation. And everything about you, your heart, your mind, your spirit, is a reflection of God's intentional design. Once you embrace this truth, your life begins to take on new meaning, and you step boldly into the destiny God has prepared for you. Life is filled with seasons of struggle, pain, and challenge. These seasons often leave us questioning our worth, our purpose, and sometimes even our faith. Yet, in the midst of these challenges, there is one unchanging truth that we must hold on to. God's presence is with us. It is in these very moments of difficulty, when everything around us seems to be falling apart, that His presence becomes the anchor we desperately need. You are never alone. God is always with you, walking alongside you, even when it feels like you are walking through the darkest valleys. When you face a trial or an obstacle, it's easy to believe that God has abandoned you or that He doesn't see your pain. But the truth is that God's presence is not just a comfort in the good times, it is even more powerful in the midst of hardship. When Isaiah 43 speaks of passing through the waters and the rivers not overflowing, it is a promise that no matter how high the waters rise, you will not drown. Even in the fiercest storms, God's presence will keep you afloat. He doesn't promise that the waters will not come. He promises that you will not be overwhelmed by them. God's presence is not just for protection. It is also for empowerment. When we face challenges, we often feel weak and inadequate to handle them. But God doesn't leave us to face these battles alone. He equips us with His strength, His wisdom, and His peace. The prayer that changes everything is not a prayer that asks God to take away the struggle, but rather a prayer that asks for His presence to be felt more deeply in the midst of it. When you know that God is with you, you can face anything. The fear, the anxiety, and the doubt that often accompany challenges lose their grip on you when you realize that you are not fighting alone. God is with you. His power is available to you. He walks with you, guiding you through every twist and turn. In the same way that He was present with the Israelites as they crossed the Red Sea, He is present with you in your own moments of crossing over. This awareness of God's presence in adversity transforms your perspective. Instead of focusing on the size of the problem, you begin to focus on the greatness of God. Your challenges may seem insurmountable, but when you see them in the light of God's presence, they begin to shrink. The The more you realize that he is walking with you, the more you understand that no force in this world can defeat you because the creator of the universe is on your side. The truth is that God often uses difficult circumstances to deepen our relationship with him. In the quiet moments of hardship, when everything else falls away, we are forced to lean into him. Our faith is stretched and we begin to understand the depth of his love for us. It is during these times that we often encounter him in ways that we could never have experienced in the midst of comfort and ease. His presence becomes more real, more tangible, and more precious than ever before. Through every trial, every storm, and every setback, remember that God's presence will not leave you. He is with you in the highs and the lows. His presence is the constant, the unchanging reality in a world full of uncertainty. The prayer that changes everything is the one that opens your heart to this truth. God is with you, and with his presence, you are more than able to overcome any obstacle that stands in your way. There comes a moment in every believer's life when they need to understand that God is always in the business of making all things new. The trials and struggles of life often feel like they define us, but God, in his infinite wisdom, sees beyond our current reality. He sees the potential for transformation, the capacity for new beginnings, and the power of his restoration in our lives. When Isaiah 43 declares, "Behold, I will do a new thing," it's not just a statement of hope. It's a powerful promise. It's a reminder that God is constantly at work behind the scenes, preparing to bring forth something fresh, something greater, something that will change everything. We often find ourselves in seasons where everything feels stagnant or even barren. Maybe it's a relationship that seems to have no life, a career that has hit a dead end, or personal dreams that feel as if they are fading into the background. During these seasons, it's easy to feel as though it's too late for change, too late for things to turn around. But God's promise in Isaiah 43 isn't limited by the current state of your life. His power transcends every obstacle, every setback, and every perceived limitation. He specializes in bringing new life where there was once only death, in creating something out of nothing. His ability to do a new thing doesn't depend on your circumstances. It is grounded in his character and his unchanging nature. When God promises to do a new thing, it's not always something we can see or understand immediately. Often the new thing he's doing begins in the unseen places of our hearts and minds. It's in the quiet moments, in the spaces where we are being transformed from the inside out, that his work begins. You may not see the full picture right away, but trust that God is planting the seeds of change within you. The journey may be uncomfortable at times as he uproots old patterns and beliefs, but it's necessary for the new growth he desires to bring forth. This new thing that God speaks of is not just a change in external circumstances, it's a change in our perspective. Sometimes the greatest transformation is not what happens around us, but what happens within us. It's when we begin to see the world through his eyes, to trust his timing and to embrace his process, that we truly experience the new thing he is doing. In these moments, we stop looking at our limitations and start focusing on his limitless power. God's promise to do a new thing also speaks to his ability to restore and redeem what seems lost. If you've been through seasons of brokenness, disappointment, or heartache, know this: God has the power to restore everything that was lost. The new thing he's bringing about may very well be a restoration of what was once good in your life, but it will be even greater than before. He doesn't just patch up the old, he makes it better than it ever was. He takes the broken pieces of your life and forms something beautiful from them. The idea of a new thing is also a call to embrace faith in the impossible. God does not operate within the confines of what we think is possible. He does not need your permission to make something extraordinary happen. The prayer that changes everything is the one that opens you up to the new, to the unknown, to the miraculous. You may not see the full extent of what he is doing, but you can trust that he is always at work behind the scenes, orchestrating the new thing that will change everything for your good and for his glory. The question then becomes, are you ready to embrace the new thing God wants to do in your life. It requires faith, trust, and the willingness to step into the unknown. But as you do, you will find that the new thing God has in store for you will exceed anything you could have imagined, and it will transform your life in ways that are beyond comprehension. When you understand that God is sovereign, you are compelled to change how you view the world around you and how you approach your challenges. God's sovereignty is not just a theological concept. It is a practical reality that influences every area of your life. His rule is unshakable, his authority absolute, and his power unmatched. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that is outside of his control. When you realize that the creator of the universe is not just distant or passive, but actively working in every circumstance, it shifts your entire perspective. When we say that nothing is too big for God, we are acknowledging that every obstacle, every mountain, and every challenge is small in comparison to his greatness. It is easy to look at the giants in our lives, the difficulties that seem insurmountable, and become overwhelmed by them. But when you begin to recognize God's sovereignty, your view of these challenges changes. They are not as powerful as you once thought, for they must bow to the power of the one who created the heavens and the earth. What you face today may seem insurmountable, but God is greater than any obstacle. God's sovereignty doesn't just speak to his power over the natural world, it speaks to his authority over every part of your life. From your career to your relationships, from your finances to your health, God holds everything in his hands. He is the ultimate source of guidance and direction. The prayer that changes everything is the prayer that acknowledges God's supreme authority in all areas of your life. It is a prayer that surrenders your own control and places your trust fully in his ability to lead, protect, and provide. Understanding God's sovereignty also means trusting that his plans for your life are good, even when circumstances don't make sense. Sometimes we encounter roadblocks, detours, and seasons of difficulty that leave us questioning whether God is still in control. But the truth is, he is always working. His sovereignty is not dependent on your understanding or perception of a situation. His plans are unfolding exactly as they should, even when you cannot see the bigger picture. This is where faith comes into play. You may not understand why things are happening, but you can trust that God is in control and that he is working all things together for your good. When you accept the reality of God's sovereignty, it empowers you to face challenges with a new attitude. Instead of being intimidated by the size of your problems, you begin to confront them with the confidence that God is on your side. You approach the giants in your life not with fear, but with the assurance that the God who parted the Red Sea, who brought down the walls of Jericho, and who raised Jesus from the dead is the same God who is working in your life today. Your challenges are not bigger than your God. And this understanding gives you the courage to move forward in faith. God's sovereignty is also a source of peace. When we trust that he is in control, we no longer have to live in constant anxiety or fear about what the future holds. The unknowns of life no longer paralyze us. Instead, we can move forward with a sense of calm assurance, knowing that the one who holds the future also holds us in the palm of his hand. His plans for us are not to harm us, but to give us a future and a hope. As you embrace the sovereignty of God in your life, you begin to live with a different mindset. No longer do you see yourself as a helpless victim of your circumstances. Instead, you begin to walk in the authority and power that comes from knowing the creator of the universe is with you, working on your behalf. Your challenges become opportunities for you to witness the greatness of God as he moves in your life, transforming the impossible into the possible. When you align your heart with God's purpose, something powerful happens. It is not simply about asking God for things or requesting his intervention. It is about fully understanding and embracing his will for your life. The prayer that changes everything is not one that merely asks for blessings or deliverance from difficulties. It is the prayer that seeks alignment with the divine purpose that has been set for you. To align with God's purpose is to understand that your life is not about your own plans or ambitions, but about fulfilling the destiny that God has carefully designed for you. The first step in this alignment is to recognize that God has a plan for your life, a plan that is greater than anything you could ever imagine. Often we get caught up in our own desires and expectations, thinking that our way is the best way. We try to control the outcomes and determine the path we take. But when we align ourselves with God's purpose, we release control and trust that His plan is far superior to our own. This requires humility and faith. Faith that God knows what is best for us, and humility to surrender our will to His. When you align with God's purpose, you begin to see the world through His eyes. You stop focusing on what you lack or what is not going well in your life, and you start to see opportunities for growth, for impact, and for service. You begin to recognize that every experience, whether good or bad, is an integral part of God's plan to shape you and prepare you for something greater. The challenges you face are not obstacles to your purpose. They are opportunities to grow in faith, to develop character, and to become more fully aligned with God's will. In alignment with God's purpose, your prayers shift. Rather than focusing on temporary desires or seeking solutions to immediate problems, your prayer becomes a vehicle for deeper communion with God. You begin to ask questions like, God, what is your will for my life? How can I serve your kingdom more effectively? How can I align my actions with your greater plan? When you pray with this kind of mindset, your prayers are not just about what you need, but about seeking God's direction and submitting to His plans. Alignment with God's purpose also brings clarity. When your heart is in tune with His will, you begin to discern His voice more clearly. The distractions and noise of the world fade away, and you can hear His guidance more distinctly. You no longer feel lost or uncertain about your next steps, because you're walking in the confidence that God is leading you. His word becomes a lamp to your feet, and His Spirit gives you the strength and wisdom to navigate through life with purpose. When your heart is aligned with God's purpose, it changes the way you interact with the world. You begin to live with intentionality, knowing that your actions are not random or insignificant, but are part of a larger divine plan. You start to make decisions based not on your own desires, but on what will bring glory to God and further His kingdom. You begin to prioritize eternal values over temporary comforts, understanding that your life is meant for something far beyond the present moment. Ultimately, alignment with God's purpose frees you from fear and anxiety. You no longer have to worry about your future because you know that God is in control and His plans for you are always good. You are secure in the knowledge that as you align yourself with His will, He will lead you to a place of fulfillment and peace. Your identity is no longer wrapped up in your accomplishments or status, but in the fact that you are walking in alignment with the Creator of the universe. When you embrace the prayer that changes everything, you are not just asking for a temporary fix or a quick solution. You are aligning your heart with God's eternal purpose, recognizing His sovereignty over every circumstance, and trusting in His ability to bring new life and transformation into your situation. This prayer is not merely a request for relief, but a declaration of faith in the One who created you, formed you with purpose, and walks with you through every trial. As you stand firm in the knowledge that God is with you, that He's making all things new, and that His plans for you are greater than you can imagine, you begin to see your life through His eyes and walk boldly into your destiny. This is the power of alignment with God's purpose, a life filled with peace, direction, and unshakable confidence in His eternal plan. So today, I encourage you to pray the prayer that changes everything. Align your heart with His purpose. Trust in His sovereignty and embrace the new thing He wants to do in your life. For with God, all things are possible, and His plans for you will never fail.